Chamber Vibes. This is Wendy Henley with the Chamber Vibes coming at you with Woody Watts, Watts Creative, Bedford Area Chamber of Commerce. How are you, Woody?
I am rock and rolling this morning.
Well, you look like you had a little bit of coffee. I'm not sure.
I did.
Good,
I enjoyed my cup on the way.
On this rainy morning.
Coffee's better. Coffee's better on rainy morning.
Coffee and soup. I love soup on a rainy day, don't you?
Oh, I do.
And of course, naps. They're always good too.
Naps
in the
any
afternoon.
day.
Yeah, these are just those days, you know, and I like it because it was a misty rain. It was kind of mysterious.
Yes.
Waking up to this morning. We have a fun guest this morning, Sarah Owens, legislative aide for District 23, Senator Steve Newman. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. Good morning.
We are so glad to have you. I just wanted you to be right in with our fun conversation this morning, so I wasn't going to make you wait. I'm like, Sarah is here. She's going to join us.
I'm in it.
You are a native of Lynchburg, and but grew up in Tampa, and Tampa, Florida. Fun.
Yes, where it's always 85 plus.
Yes,
age and degrees.
Right. That's so true. We're going to retire. That is awesome. I'm going to retire there. So you're a graduate of Florida State.
Go Noles.
Awesome. With a degree in political science. And you've spent your entire career working to make the world a better place. I love that.
That's my hope.
And you are a bright and shining star here. I'm always so glad to see you and talk to you and talk about what's going on in our world here. But let's talk about your career. You have highlights, including working with the Secretary James Baker during 2000, the recant in Florida, serving a legislative director, Governor Jeb Bush, Medicaid agency, analyzing legislative for the Health and Quality Committee under the Florida House Speaker Marco Rubio, serving as a legislative aide to Delegate Scott Garrett, who he was awesome.
Yes.
8 years you served with him, and after moving back to Lynchburg. And you now are legislative aide for Senator Steve Newman, doing a fabulous job. He's so blessed to have you, and I know he knows it.
Oh, thank you.
You're here today to talk to us about upcoming statewide and state house elections.
We are getting close to November 2nd.
Yes, we are. It is getting, we were talking about that this morning before the show started, like how many things, we're almost in November. And it's going fast.
It is.
But, fall is the best, don't you think?
Yes.
I love fall.
Pumpkin,
it's
stars,
pumpkin season.
Leaves.
All of it, yes.
I'm going up to the Blue Ridge Parkway, I think, this weekend to see the leaves because it's about that time.
Yeah, we're almost at peak. It is. And it's hard to believe that we're there, but it is. And it goes fast, but so you've got to take advantage of it and go when you can go. So get some great pictures, share them with us. We'll love to see those. But we want to get to know you, and so just in a minute, we're going to dive right in. But let's talk about birthday celebrations. We've got some, Woody, and I know you've got some to announce that are coming up.
Well, the only one that I recognize is Elizabeth Shue.
Elizabeth Shue,
I'm a fan.
I know
She's
her.
in Karate Kid. She was in The Saint. The Saint is a great movie. Hollow Man, and she did a cameo on, spoiler alert, on Cobra Kai. So, Elizabeth Shue's birthday today. So
awesome. We celebrate Elizabeth. And I love it. She spells her name with an S, Elisabeth. And Shue is spelled differently, Shue.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, she's a great star. Well, and also we've got local celebrities. So Sarah and I were talking. Tell us about birthdays coming up in your world.
In my office world, Senator Newman's birthday is actually the 15th, which is next Friday. And his lovely bride, Kim, her birthday is this Friday. So happy birthday to the Newmans.
Happy birthday to the Newmans. Both of them in October. That's like a whole month. I love it. And they can just surprise each other every day.
That's right.
For the whole month. That's exciting. Well, they are wonderful, and we are blessed to have them representing our area. Senator Steve Newman does a fantastic job. So let's dive in about you. Talk to us a little bit about yourself, such as like how you got into public service.
Sure. Well, like you mentioned in my bio, I did grow up in the Tampa, Florida area. And I honestly grew up in the Southern Baptist Church. And we did a lot of things for pro-life issues. And I was very involved with those things as a child. And I think that planted the seed in me to make a difference, and that by showing up, I can make a difference. And so when I got to Florida State, I started with a couple of different majors. I think a lot of people do that. They have to see what they want. I started in education. I thought I wanted to be a teacher. And thankfully, Florida State makes you go and observe a classroom your first semester. And God bless our teachers, but I am not one of them.
Yes.
And so
They have a hard job for sure.
They do. So I quickly found that political science was what I wanted to do, and I got a Bachelor of Science in political science. So it was a little bit more data driven, numbers driven. But my junior year in college, my mother, a very wise woman, hopefully that scores me some points.
Absolutely.
Said, Sarah, you need to intern somewhere and get your foot in the door. And so I was checking groceries at Publix and also working evenings at Red Lobster in addition to going to school. And I interned with the Republican Party of Florida, because Florida State is actually in our state capital there in Tallahassee. So it was a great blessing to have that, to be able to work. And that's kind of where the James Baker part came in, because I was working at the Republican Party of Florida when the Gore v. Bush recount happened, and lawyers from all over the place descended on our little office. And so I was with him in the office every day, and we would help with paperwork and things and whatever they needed. So it was just a really amazing time to be able to be a part of that part of our history. So so that's
sure you learned a lot, and that was trial by fire hose, right? It was coming at you and lots to learn in the midst of all of that.
Yes. And so from that point forward, I kind of did the political part a little bit with campaigns and being a part of the Republican Party of Florida. I worked with our local units, our local committees. We have 67 counties in Florida, and so I worked with them. And then I took my career kind of took a turn, and I did more of the policy part of our government process, and I've really enjoyed that. That's quite honestly my favorite part is policy, and seeing how, I know you could say it's how the sausage is made. It's really not that yucky, but sometimes it is. But it's great to see how all these things are made and how people compromise and work together. And I'm hopeful that our world and our country can get back to that compromise and being agreeably disagreeable.
Right. It's so true. And we're fortunate, like I say, to have great representation here in our area. And you guys are working hard for pro-business advocacy,
Yes.
which is so important to us at the Chamber and to our small businesses, and actually any size business, really.
Yeah.
These are so important. There's so many things coming at our businesses today, and we'll talk about some of those. But first off, I know Virginia is so wonderful, being one of the best states for education. What actions are legislators taking to prepare Virginia schools to capitalize on this post-pandemic learning environment?
Yeah, I would say, unfortunately, we were under a state of emergency here in Virginia for 475 days. And for most of that time, a lot of our schools in Virginia were closed to in-person learning. Thankfully, places like Bedford and Campbell were open, and children were able to continue to be in a classroom. But the General Assembly in this past legislative session did pass a bill that's now law. The governor did sign it, that requires every school division to offer at least 5 days of in-person learning. That doesn't mean that, they have to do, they can't offer some other things, but they have to at least offer the in-person learning. And then I would also say that under some of our more liberal Democrat control, which I have a lot of friends who are Democrats, so whenever I talk about that, it's not disparaging, but we have lost and eliminated a lot of our metricable accountability And so we've kind of drifted away from our math, English, and science to a lot of our social issues. So another bill that we passed this past session requires that an assessment be done for our students at least 3 times a year. That's going to be done the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year, so that we have, it's called student growth data. It's not just a snapshot in time. It's actually going to show how the child is learning throughout the year. And hopefully now that we're back in the classroom post beginning of COVID, but I know that we're still kind of in the COVID days, but we can see that how they're growing, where they need help. And so that full assessment won't start until the 22-23 school year, but we are going to, I think this year they did start with the beginning and the end of the school year testing, and then they'll add the middle one next year. So those are some of the things. We do realize that children and our teachers, need help in this post-pandemic world.
They sure do. And, anything that can happen that's good that comes out of this, pandemic is going to be promising for later. And that sounds wonderful. Showing, keeping up with the student where they are. Because, we had some teachers on, actually it was the Teachers of the Year, 3 of them, and the main Teacher of the Year. And they were talking about how students really are a year behind. And that's just across the board. And so to have that check-in and show the growth of where they are, that's just going to help ongoing.
Yeah.
And they'll catch up, I'm sure, but it's just keeping up with that is going to be imperative. Right. So that's good news there. So give us a summary of some issues that are going to be on the ballots this year for across the Virginia for November.
Yeah, I think that there are some unspoken issues. I think obviously we've got candidates, and our main race that's happening right now is our race for governor. And we have former Governor Terry McAuliffe running, and a wonderful, energetic businessman from Northern Virginia, Glenn Youngkin, is running. And they've had 2 debates. And I don't know if you've seen them or if the listeners have seen them, but they are online. You can go back and watch them. But they were really interesting in the fact that there are some stark differences between the 2 of them. They very much differ on executive powers and how they see the role of the governor being. I think Mr. McAuliffe would say that government needs to be in control of a lot of these decisions that some people might think is a personal decision. He sees the government needing to mandate certain things. And Mr. Youngkin, while he believes that some of those things, like the vaccine, are good and people should do them, he does not see that as a role of the executive. So that's one of the big issues that will be on the ballot, is which way do you want the government to go with executive powers? The other one that we were just talking about is K through 12 education. I mean, I think in the last debate, you saw an unspoken that was spoken. Former Governor McAuliffe did say that he did not think that parents should be telling school divisions how to teach their children. And your listeners may think that that's right, and some of them may think that's wrong. So Mr. Youngkin does not believe that. He believes that parents should be working with the school divisions. And so that's one of the issues that is very different between the 2 candidates. And then another one is the funding and respect of our law enforcement officers. I think our law enforcement officers have done a great deal over the past year. We've seen a lot of social unrest, and a lot of this defund the police movement has come through, and they're there for us. When we dial 911, those officers and first responders show up for us. So that's another issue that's on the ballot, that's not typed on the ballot, but it is something that, depending on the role you see our law enforcement playing, you need to choose the appropriate candidate for.
Yes, so everybody can do research. Where's the best place?
I would Google each of the candidates. So you've got Glenn Youngkin. You can Google him, and his website comes up. Terry McAuliffe. We have both of our lieutenant governor candidates. Winsome Sears is the Republican, and I always say her name wrong. Hala Ayala, I believe is how you say her name, is the Democrat candidate for lieutenant governor. And then our attorney general, which is very important. That person deals a lot with enforcement of our laws. And the current attorney general, Mark Herring, is running. And Jason Miyares, Miyares, from Virginia Beach. He's the current delegate. He is running in the Republican nomination for Attorney General. So those are the main of our statewide candidates. And then every single member of the House of Delegates is up for re-election. So any of those folks in your area, you would want to look them up, and they will all have their issues on their website.
Wonderful. It's a lot going on, a lot to think about. Definitely everyone needs to do their research. Where can they go see the debates? Is it YouTube?
Yeah, I would go on YouTube. Let's see, the Northern Virginia Community College hosted the second one. The first one was hosted by the Appalachian School of Law in Southwest Virginia. So you could probably look up both of those places online, and they should have it.
Yes, education is power, and knowing which candidate stands for what is so valuable. It's important before you go vote. And we talked about that last week, the different dates, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So let's just do a couple, maybe we have time for one more good one. So in 2020, the Virginia General Assembly mandated minimum wage. Everybody's aware of that, to be raised to $9.50. By May 2021, with the plans gradually to raise, each year and all of this, the businesses we know are struggling, definitely small business, to keep up with this, and certainly our workforce is depleted as well. So it's tough times for our businesses, let's be real. With these plans gradually to raise by January 1st of 2026, how will this change and impact our businesses and the labor market and our workforce?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, our businesses in this current environment are struggling, and whether it's Washington, D.C. or Richmond, they are just constantly seeing new mandates, new rules, new regulations. It seems like every day. We've got OSHA coming in, telling them how to do certain things. We have a lot of different laws that the General Assembly over the past 2 years, the Democrats have been in control of both the House of Delegates and the Virginia Senate and the governor's office. And so a term I like to use is smash and grab. And that's what I feel like has been happening over the past 2 years. It's like they've gotten control of the whole shebang for the first time, and they have just gone a little nutty over doing all these issues at once. And so as you know, a lot of these things deal with our businesses. They want to look at paid family medical leave, minimum wage, all of these types of things that really can impact a business. And then those prices and those costs are passed on to consumers. And it's just this endless cycle of none of us really getting ahead. Minimum wage did come up, and this was in the 2020 session. And a lot of the proponents for the $15 an hour were from Northern Virginia. And Senator Newman saw that this train had already left the station. He is not a proponent of raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour because he realizes all of the different things we just talked about. However, seeing that the train had left the station, he did advocate for a regional approach to it, meaning, $15 an hour in Arlington, great. But $15 an hour down in Buchanan or, some of our rural areas in Southwest and even here in our area, it's not going to fly. That did not get well received, unfortunately. So we are on a path. And it's interesting because the Democrats kept saying, this is not a bad thing. This is a great thing. However, when COVID struck, they did delay the implementation of raising the minimum wage.
Right.
And our thought was, okay, well, if it's not a bad thing, then why are we delaying it? Obviously, it is a bad thing. Obviously, this is going to impact our businesses.
It is going to impact our businesses and is already.
Yes.
We're seeing that. And the labor market. And like you said, everything will go up in price just to, make sure that these are covered, taxes. I mean, everything across the board. And so businesses are already struggling, trying to get out of this COVID challenge and make sure that they have the funds that they need to survive and thrive. And now, they're going through this, with the wages. So, yeah, it's a lot to overcome. The challenges are there, but we are so glad that you guys are pro-business advocates, and we look forward to hearing more and seeing more. And I know, everybody's trying to make a difference, so we're just here being the voice for our businesses on our end.
Well, and if I could just tell you real quick, Senator Newman was able to put a pause into it's an incremental raise. So we are currently at $9.50. That went into effect on May 1st. We're going to $11 on January 1. That's when it'll go up again. And then it'll go to $12 on January 1 of the following year. And so we'll be paused at $12 minimum wage on January 1 of 2023. And Senator Newman is the one who really...
he was instrumental.
He brokered that deal. So at that point, the next General Assembly must enact another law to okay us going forward to $13.50 and then to $15. There's also going to be a study with, Richmond loves to do studies, and hopefully this one will be a good one and one that will be helpful, looking at the regional minimum wage structure, and if that is something that we can do going forward. So if Central Virginia, our part of Central Virginia, wants to stay at the $12, we can stay, hopefully. And if the regions north of us want to go higher, then that would be. So hopefully that study will show that a regional structure is doable.
And that can be, tethered to cost of living, inflation, these things. So it's important. And regions are different, and certainly rural areas are different.
Well, and we've seen that with COVID. Our good governor, and I say that a little tongue-in-cheek, did see that we are different across the state with our COVID. If you remember, he said, okay, well, this region of the state can go forward and this region of the state is different. They're going to stay back and stay in phase 1. So we are very different, and we've realized that in other areas. I'm just hopeful that we can see that in our minimum wage.
Yes, absolutely. That is great. You're fighting the good fight there. Senator is doing a great job. So let's talk about dates coming up. We mentioned this last week, but I like to make sure that we cover it each time. People can still register, right?
They can. So I believe, I can't believe it's already October 6th, but so I guess it's next Tuesday, October 12th is the deadline to register to vote or update your existing registration. If you've moved, if you've gotten married, you want to change your name, that kind of thing, you need to go ahead and do that by next Tuesday. And that can be done online, so that should be pretty simple. Early voting is happening right now, and that is no excuse. The General Assembly took away the need to have an excuse to early vote or vote absentee in 2020. That remains. I encourage you. I have gone and early voted. Senator Newman and his wife went last week. We went and early voted in Bedford here at the Vote Center. Super simple, and it's just like Election Day. This is not mailing in your ballot. This is not absentee voting. This is early voting. And you put your ballot in the machine just like you would at your precinct.
So that's great. And, I know some people already that have voted as well, and no waiting.
That's
like
right.
You just walk in. So it's a wonderful thing.
And you get your sticker. You still get a sticker.
And you still get your sticker. See there? Like you get the whole thing.
The whole
It's
experience.
like the real thing. And less people, and you can say, hey, I voted, I'm done. And certainly, any questions though on there that you know of that could throw us a curveball on there?
You mean ballot questions?
Yeah.
No, not that. The ones, I had a Lynchburg ballot. I was able to vote for Commonwealth's attorney and that kind of thing. So there may be some local elections for you on there, but you can go to elections.virginia, spelled out, .gov. That's elections.virginia, nonstop.virginia.gov, and they will, I believe there's a place on there for you to
Give you a sample ballot.
sample ballot. Yep.
That's nice. And that way you really can, be informed on anything and everything before you get there.
Yes.
And that's imperative so that you are educated before you vote.
And if you would like to volunteer with your local committee, whether it be a Democratic committee or Republican committee, they are always looking for volunteers, since we do have early voting. So every day is election day from now until November 2nd.
Every day is election day.
Like
That needed to
Groundhog
be
Day.
our theme for this show. We've done a lot on elections in October, and of course that makes sense. But yes, every day is election day.
Yep.
You can go vote. We'll definitely keep promoting that. And speaking of days and celebration days, we want to get in celebrations for today. We have National Coaches Day, and that's fun. Everybody can be a coach, right? And then we've got, let's see, National Walk to School Day. First Wednesday in October. We are not advocates of that unless you are very close to your school.
Right. And it's kind of rainy today.
And
which
it's a
is
little
sad.
rainy. Like, you'd have to have your raincoat and
Yes.
boots and all of that, which, that would be kind of fun if you're close to school. But this is fun. National Pumpkin Seed Day. So that's fun. Do you eat pumpkin seeds, Sarah?
I have done that before. It's quite a process having to scoop all the goop out of the pumpkin, but the seeds are kind of delicious.
Yeah, with lots of salt.
Lots of
yes,
salt.
and baked, and oh my gosh. And, you feel healthy eating them, I think. How about you, Woody? Pumpkin seeds?
No,
Yes, no?
No.
You're
No
out.
pumpkin seeds for me.
No pumpkin seeds. Well, you can't
Sorry.
like it all.
No.
But, Coaches Day, that's exciting. We can go
Thank a coach.
thank a coach. Absolutely.
That's right.
Thank a coach, because there's so many, and they're doing this a lot of times for nothing. Like, they're
That's
just
right.
doing it because they love the games and they love the kids and they want to help them develop those skills. And so we thank
Great
coaches.
role models.
They are great role models. Absolutely. And we thank you, Sarah, for coming on today and telling us all about what's going on in your world. And we look forward to the elections
Yes.
and going to vote. Please vote. Your vote counts.
That's right.
We'll see you at our next event.